1. In the context of adult learning, which strategy best supports self-directed learners in the TABE reading classroom? A. Mandatory group work with assigned roles. B. Independent reading assignments with reflective journals. C. Memorization of reading passages for quizzes. D. Strict adherence to a preset curriculum. 2. What is the primary reason for using diagnostic reading assessments with adult learners before TABE instruction begins? A. To fulfill regulatory documentation. B. To determine teacher effectiveness. C. To identify individualized learning needs. D. To schedule group learning sessions. 3. Which curriculum development technique is most effective for aligning TABE reading objectives with adult learner goals? A. Using only state-mandated reading passages. B. Adopting unmodified high school curricula. C. Integrating real-world reading materials like forms and manuals. D. Limiting reading instruction to literary analysis. 4. According to adult learning theory, what type of reading material is most likely to engage adult learners? A. Children's literature. B. Peer-reviewed academic journals. C. Contextualized texts relevant to daily life or work. D. Fiction with complex plot lines. 5. When providing feedback to an adult TABE reading learner, what approach best promotes retention and motivation? A. Delayed, summative feedback on tests. B. Immediate, constructive, and specific comments. C. Public correction of reading errors. D. Weekly group evaluations only. 6. Which of the following best illustrates formative evaluation in a TABE reading program? A. Administering the TABE post-test. B. Conducting monthly performance reviews. C. Giving quizzes after each reading unit to adjust instruction. D. Reviewing program outcomes annually. 7. In compliance with FERPA, which action is permissible when discussing TABE reading results? A. Sharing results with another teacher without consent. B. Posting scores publicly in the classroom. C. Sending results home with the student in a sealed envelope. D. Emailing scores to a student's family member. 8. A mentor is guiding a new instructor on building rapport with adult reading learners. What advice aligns best with adult learning principles? A. Limit personal interaction to preserve authority. B. Avoid discussing learner goals during instruction. C. Encourage open communication and acknowledge learner experiences. D. Maintain a rigid, standardized lesson plan. 9. What is a key indicator of reading curriculum effectiveness for adult learners preparing for the TABE? A. The use of complex academic vocabulary. B. Learner engagement and measurable reading growth. C. Instruction strictly based on fiction. D. Number of hours spent on test preparation. 10. Which principle of adult learning is most relevant when designing reading lessons for older learners with limited schooling? A. Children learn best through repetition. B. Adults thrive on rote memorization. C. Adults bring rich experiences that shape their learning. D. Learning should always be instructor-centered. 11. Which communication strategy best supports an adult learner struggling with reading comprehension? A. Speaking faster to cover more material. B. Using visual aids and simplified language. C. Avoiding eye contact to reduce pressure. D. Limiting learner questions during sessions. 12. When mentoring a colleague new to TABE reading instruction, what is the most valuable focus area? A. Emphasizing grammar instruction only. B. Understanding adult learning preferences. C. Mastery of standardized testing procedures. D. Assigning mandatory reading hours. 13. Which type of reading passage is most aligned with adult learners' TABE goals and workforce preparation? A. Fairy tales and nursery rhymes. B. Business emails and safety instructions. C. Poetry and literature reviews. D. Fictional short stories. 14. What is the role of cultural relevance in selecting reading materials for adult TABE learners? A. To meet state testing mandates. B. To engage learners by connecting to their backgrounds. C. To improve fictional reading skills. D. To align with textbook chapters. 15. What instructional approach supports differentiated reading instruction for TABE learners at varying levels? A. One-size-fits-all lecture model. B. Tiered reading assignments based on ability. C. Strict adherence to grade-level materials. D. Weekly spelling tests. 16. An adult learner is hesitant to participate in group reading. Which mentoring technique is most appropriate? A. Assigning the learner a group leader role. B. Ignoring the learner's discomfort. C. Providing 1:1 reading support to build confidence. D. Reducing reading assignments altogether. 17. What is the most appropriate method to evaluate the effectiveness of a reading lesson for adult learners? A. Student satisfaction surveys only. B. Learner attendance rates. C. Pre- and post-assessments on specific reading objectives. D. Time spent on homework. 18. How should an instructor address diverse learning styles in a TABE reading course? A. Focus solely on auditory instruction. B. Provide reading tasks without accommodations. C. Incorporate visual, auditory, and kinesthetic strategies. D. Use one textbook for all learners. 19. Which practice best exemplifies ethical compliance in TABE reading evaluation? A. Assigning arbitrary scores for convenience. B. Sharing test results only with authorized personnel. C. Using outdated assessment tools. D. Modifying scores to boost program funding. 20. In the context of adult literacy, which is a primary barrier to reading progress? A. Overuse of technology in instruction. B. Irrelevant or unrelatable reading materials. C. Repetitive group reading exercises. D. Emphasis on visual learning. 21. What method is most effective for teaching inference skills to adult TABE learners? A. Memorizing reading rules. B. Practicing context clues in real-world texts. C. Listening to audiobooks. D. Reading silently without questions. 22. What is one benefit of using workplace documents in TABE reading instruction? A. Reduces need for reading comprehension. B. Prepares learners for state fiction exams. C. Builds applicable literacy skills. D. Limits critical thinking. 23. Which of the following is an effective strategy for adult reading learners with test anxiety? A. Assigning additional homework. B. Practicing timed reading under pressure. C. Teaching relaxation and comprehension strategies. D. Replacing reading tasks with spelling activities. 24. What role does feedback play in formative evaluation of adult learners in reading? A. Helps instructors adjust instruction to meet learner needs. B. Is used only for grading purposes. C. Is primarily collected at the end of the course. D. Focuses only on learner attendance. 25. What is the most effective way to integrate reading and communication skills in a TABE reading class? A. Silent reading sessions with minimal discussion. B. Requiring oral presentations without preparation. C. Pairing reading tasks with group discussion. D. Prioritizing worksheets over conversation. 26. Which is a valid regulatory consideration in adult education record keeping? A. Storing test scores in an unlocked drawer. B. Publicly displaying student data. C. Ensuring secure storage of assessment results. D. Allowing all staff access to learner data. 27. Which practice best reflects adult learning theory in a reading lesson? A. Requiring repetitive memorization. B. Building on learners' life experiences. C. Teaching via scripted lectures only. D. Emphasizing passivity during instruction. 28. What type of reading assessment is most helpful for adjusting instruction mid-course? A. Final TABE exam. B. Weekly self-assessments. C. Quarterly reviews. D. Summative state reports. 29. How can a mentor best help a teacher address low engagement in reading activities? A. Blame learner attitude. B. Observe and model learner-centered strategies. C. Recommend longer class periods. D. Enforce more silent reading time. 30. What instructional material is best suited for developing adult learners' skimming and scanning skills? A. Science fiction novels. B. Business memos and classified ads. C. Classical poetry. D. Historical fiction. 31. What is the best way to teach summarization to adult reading learners? A. Assigning book reports. B. Practicing with short nonfiction articles. C. Memorizing definitions. D. Avoiding summarization due to difficulty. 32. How does integrating reading with workplace readiness benefit adult learners? A. Enhances vocabulary for testing only. B. Prepares learners for TABE math. C. Makes reading tasks meaningful and relevant. D. Replaces basic reading instruction. 33. A learner shows progress in comprehension but struggles with fluency. What should be the next step? A. Focus only on comprehension. B. Introduce timed repeated readings. C. Avoid timed tasks altogether. D. Skip to advanced materials. 34. What is the instructor's role in creating a supportive reading environment? A. Discourage personal stories. B. Maintain strict discipline and silence. C. Encourage participation and respect diverse viewpoints. D. Focus only on test drills. 35. Which curriculum approach best supports adult learners with interrupted education? A. Rigid chronological textbook chapters. B. Life skill-based thematic units. C. College-level literature. D. Lectures on theory. 36. Which reading strategy improves critical thinking in adult learners? A. Highlighting unfamiliar words only. B. Asking learners to justify their answers using the text. C. Avoiding difficult vocabulary. D. Relying on teacher explanation. 37. How should instructors select texts for culturally diverse TABE learners? A. Choose texts from one dominant culture. B. Use culturally neutral texts exclusively. C. Select inclusive texts that reflect diverse backgrounds. D. Use only government-issued reading materials. 38. How can instructors track ongoing progress in reading comprehension? A. Administering informal reading inventories. B. Using attendance as a metric. C. Tracking behavior in class. D. Relying only on the TABE post-test. 39. When mentoring an instructor in learner-centered TABE practices, which is a key focus? A. Reducing learner autonomy. B. Encouraging instructor-led lecture only. C. Promoting self-assessment and goal setting. D. Focusing on grading efficiency. 40. Which assessment practice is considered summative in TABE reading instruction? A. Daily comprehension checks. B. Weekly reflection journals. C. TABE post-test results. D. Exit ticket questions. 41. What is the most effective technique to teach main idea identification in nonfiction reading? A. Highlighting every detail in the passage. B. Encouraging readers to summarize each paragraph. C. Asking learners to locate dates and names. D. Avoiding lengthy texts altogether. 42. In adult education, how should reading comprehension be assessed to ensure valid results? A. Using only multiple choice questions. B. Matching assessment methods to learner strengths. C. Relying on peer feedback exclusively. D. Testing reading silently without questions. 43. What best supports reading skill transfer beyond the classroom for TABE learners? A. Assigning unrelated literary texts. B. Integrating functional reading materials like job postings. C. Emphasizing classic literature only. D. Focusing on fictional character analysis. 44. What characteristic of adult learners should most influence reading curriculum design? A. Desire for daily homework. B. Preference for visual arts. C. Need for learning relevance to life and work. D. Familiarity with young adult fiction. 45. Which reading activity promotes self-assessment and reflection among adult learners? A. Grading by instructors only. B. Completing standardized tests weekly. C. Writing personal responses to reading passages. D. Copying text for handwriting practice. 46. How can instructors support ESL learners in TABE reading classes? A. Avoid language-specific supports to encourage immersion. B. Use bilingual glossaries and scaffold texts. C. Increase reading difficulty to build stamina. D. Restrict participation to fluent speakers. 47. What is a key factor in building adult learner confidence in reading? A. Public correction of mistakes. B. Peer comparison and ranking. C. Recognition of small successes and progress. D. Repetition without feedback. 48. Which method best evaluates learners' ability to interpret figurative language? A. Asking for dictionary definitions only. B. Having students read poetry silently. C. Using context-based multiple-choice questions. D. Skipping figurative content on tests. 49. Why is incorporating learner goals into reading lessons important? A. To increase test security. B. To limit instructional flexibility. C. To enhance motivation and ownership. D. To comply with state funding requirements. 50. How can instructors ensure regulatory compliance when documenting TABE reading progress? A. Keep all records informal and verbal. B. Use standardized forms with secure access. C. Store all data on personal devices. D. Share logs openly with other students. 51. What type of reading material is least effective for adult learners preparing for the TABE? A. Instructional manuals. B. Workplace memos. C. Storybooks for children. D. Consumer product reviews. 52. Which action by a mentor most supports professional growth in a TABE reading instructor? A. Encouraging strict rule enforcement. B. Modeling flexible and adaptive teaching strategies. C. Recommending only scripted materials. D. Discouraging learner feedback. 53. Why is learner autonomy important in adult reading education? A. It allows instructors to avoid planning. B. It reduces the need for assessments. C. It builds motivation and critical thinking. D. It discourages teamwork. 54. What is the purpose of scaffolding reading instruction? A. To limit learners to one reading level. B. To gradually increase complexity as skills develop. C. To isolate learners from group work. D. To rely solely on pretests. 55. How should instructors handle differing reading levels within one class? A. Use uniform assignments for all. B. Encourage peer correction in public. C. Differentiate tasks and materials. D. Focus on the strongest learners. 56. What communication practice encourages adult learners to express reading challenges? A. Judging answers quickly. B. Asking open-ended, supportive questions. C. Avoiding feedback sessions. D. Replacing discussion with written quizzes. 57. In reading assessment, why is it important to include both literal and inferential questions? A. To create longer tests. B. To satisfy textbook requirements. C. To fully measure comprehension and thinking. D. To reduce grading time. 58. Which reading task is most beneficial for learners preparing for employment? A. Analyzing fairy tale structure. B. Reading and summarizing safety procedures. C. Reading classical sonnets aloud. D. Reviewing fictional dialogue. 59. Which component is essential in a mentor's feedback on TABE reading instruction? A. Vague praise to boost morale. B. Constructive, evidence-based suggestions. C. Comparison to national averages. D. Avoiding critique to maintain positivity. 60. Which practice supports ethical standards in adult education reading instruction? A. Selecting biased reading content. B. Ignoring learners' cultural values. C. Providing inclusive and respectful materials. D. Assigning irrelevant readings to all. 61. How does activating prior knowledge help adult learners in reading? A. It distracts from the reading task. B. It complicates new learning. C. It builds context and increases understanding. D. It leads to memorization errors. 62. What role does peer collaboration play in reading development? A. Causes distraction and off-task behavior. B. Supports vocabulary memorization only. C. Enhances understanding through discussion. D. Should be avoided to ensure independence. 63. How can instructors best assess vocabulary acquisition in adult readers? A. Memorization drills without context. B. Reading comprehension activities using new words. C. Grammar worksheets. D. Silent reading logs. 64. What is an appropriate way to incorporate adult learner feedback into reading instruction? A. Ignore feedback for consistency. B. Review feedback annually only. C. Adjust reading materials and approaches regularly. D. Focus on administrative concerns. 65. Which material supports reading fluency development in adult learners? A. Texts far above reading level. B. Audio recordings paired with print materials. C. Isolated vocabulary lists. D. Repetitive grammar exercises. 66. Which strategy best builds metacognitive skills in reading? A. Avoiding questions about reading process. B. Teaching learners to plan, monitor, and evaluate reading. C. Focusing only on answers, not strategies. D. Encouraging passive reading. 67. Why is learner choice in reading important? A. It makes lesson planning harder. B. It encourages disengagement. C. It fosters ownership and engagement. D. It delays testing readiness. 68. What should instructors consider when adapting materials for low literacy adult readers? A. Keep original text complexity. B. Remove all graphics. C. Use plain language and relevant content. D. Avoid real-world texts. 69. What method helps adult learners distinguish between fact and opinion in texts? A. Copying passages for fluency. B. Identifying signal words and evaluating claims. C. Avoiding nonfiction. D. Focusing only on author biography. 70. How should a mentor support an instructor with inconsistent TABE reading outcomes? A. Recommend learner dismissal. B. Help analyze data to inform instruction. C. Emphasize more test drills. D. Reduce instruction time. TABE Reading Test. The TABE Test of Adult Basic Education Reading Test is a standardized assessment designed to evaluate the reading comprehension skills of adult learners. It measures the ability to understand and interpret various types of written material, including informational texts, workplace documents, and literary passages. The test assesses key skills such as identifying main ideas, making inferences, understanding vocabulary and context, and analyzing the structure and purpose of texts. TABE reading is commonly used by adult education programs, workforce development agencies, and training institutions to determine learners' readiness for high school equivalency tests or job-related training. It supports educators in tailoring instruction to individual learner needs and tracking academic progress over time. Here are the top 5 beneficial uses of the sample exam. 1. Placement in adult education programs. The TABE reading test helps educators accurately place learners in appropriate instructional levels by assessing their current reading comprehension skills. 2. Preparation for high school equivalency exams. It identifies specific reading strengths and weaknesses, allowing instructors to target instruction for GED or high-set readiness. 3. Workforce readiness evaluation. The test measures practical reading skills needed for workplace success, such as interpreting instructions, safety materials, and job-related texts. 4. Tracking educational progress. TABE reading allows educators to monitor a learner's improvement over time and adjust teaching strategies accordingly. 5. Supporting customized learning plans. Results provide detailed diagnostic data that help design individualized education plans aligned with learner goals.